Okay, welcome everybody. I'm Kathy Mayoral, and I'm going to be the moderator tonight. And now I would like to have the Zumbro Valley Sweet Adelines come forward, and they're going to lead us in the national anthem. So if we could all please rise. Okay, good evening. I would like to thank everybody for coming. I am Kathy Mayoral, a member of the Rochester League of Women Voters, and we are here tonight for a forum of the candidates for Rochester City Mayor. We'd like to thank all candidates for running for office, for offering to serve their community, and for the enormous time, dedication, and commitment that running and serving demands. We encourage our members as individuals, as we encourage each of you to get involved in your community and political party, and the political party of your choice. The League is joined in sponsoring this forum by the Rochester Post Bulletin, the Rochester Area Chamber of Commerce, and the Rochester Public Library. The League of Women Voters is a volunteer organization organized at the local, state, and national level to encourage citizens to participate in government. While we as a league study and take stands on issues, we never endorse or oppose political parties or candidates. The views expressed in this forum are those of the candidates, not those of the League of Women Voters Rochester or any partner or sponsor of this forum, and the sponsorship of the forum is not an endorsement of any candidate. Our purpose in sponsoring this forum is to provide you with an opportunity to hear candidates discuss face-to-face issues that are important to you. Tonight's questions have come from the League, the Post Bulletin, the Chamber of Commerce, and members of our audience. You are welcome to submit as many written questions for the candidates as you like. You have cards, and just hold them up, and a League volunteer will collect them throughout the forum. Questions that are unclear, hostile, or of a personal nature will not be used. Given our format, your questions must relate to all candidates. Questions that fall in the same general area or which have been addressed in opening statements may be consolidated to allow us to cover as many topics as possible in the time allotted. We appreciate questions that are forward-looking rather than a review of past issues. If the answer was unclear to you, feel free to submit a follow-up question or ask the candidate after the forum. Cards become the property of the League of Women Voters Rochester. As there's never enough time to cover all the issues, it's especially tonight with the number of candidates, we may only be able to get to 6 or 7 questions, so don't be disappointed if your question isn't asked. Please feel free to contact the candidates' campaign headquarters or their websites directly if your question is not addressed. So the candidates seated left to right, as you can see their names on the card, are Benjamin Zastro, Molly Dennis, Jess Garcia, Jared Lucker, Wale Egelbidi, Ax Ahmed, Joe Powers, and Ayub Haji Omar. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to offer an opening statement. The candidates will then respond in turn to questions provided by League of Women Voter Rochester and this evening's partner. Candidates will have 1 minute each to answer. Candidates will then have 2 minutes each to make a closing statement. I would like to suggest that we be as succinct as possible so we can get as many questions answered. But if you do not stop when the timekeepers indicate that your time is up, I will step in and thank and interrupt you. If you have a rebuttal to a question, you may make that rebuttal after all the candidates have spoken. You have, once you have used a rebuttal, please put it in the basket on your table. Our timekeepers tonight, sitting here in the front row, are Julie Gilkinson and Eric Voldal. Questions are being managed by League of Women Voter Rochester members Anna Frayling, Amy Cockett, and Dee Vodel. Questions may come from Randy Peterson with the Post Bulletin and Ryan Parsons from the Chamber of Commerce. So to begin, I'm going to ask the candidate Zastro make his opening statement. He will be followed by candidate Dennis. So please proceed.
Hello. It has been an honor to serve the City of Rochester as a commissioner for 3 years, and specifically as the chair of the Heritage Preservation Commission now in my 2nd year. This inside experience has only further highlighted the need for balanced growth in our community, as I've gained insights into various aspects of our city zoning, policy, and public meeting procedures. Often I'm operating in a quasi-judicial capacity, while on the dais, chairing public hearings as well as in an advisory capacity to our City Council. It has been a pleasure to serve for 5 years as the president of the Lower Town Neighborhood Association, just on the north side of downtown. We have navigated a post-pandemic recovery, 2 rounds of North Broadway reconstruction, and the pressures of rapid urban development. After years of sitting with neighbors, developers, small business owners, and neighborhood leaders across the city, I understand the pressures and concerns facing us on a broad scale. I have years of proven leadership as a force multiplier, including leading the request for the 3rd round of Minnesota Deed Main Street grant funding for our small business community along North Broadway, resulting in a trailblazing project in which a laundromat now operates with solar power. This is all bolstered by nearly 2 decades of small business and entrepreneurial experience. I've learned the importance of clear communication and effective execution. I know the value of under-promising and over-delivering, something the City of Rochester can greatly improve upon. Through this, I've also learned the importance of adaptability when the pandemic required a major shift in business models from serving individual event clients nationally to serving businesses and organizations regionally with locally focused product deliverables. More importantly, I have been all in on Rochester. This is my wife's hometown. We've raised our children here. We have friends and relatives here. We have our business here. I want to see Rochester continue to thrive in the years to come. I'm running because growth is currently outpacing leadership. We need a mayor who is not the mayor of Mayo Clinic, but a mayor for the people of Rochester. I am committed to the local community and to prioritizing the long-term stability of our city organization. I want all of Rochester to succeed.
And to be followed by candidate Garcia.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg stated, "One lives not just for oneself, but for one's community." After moving to Rochester 20 years ago, Councilmember Sandra Means invited me to be our neighborhood community organizer, hosting national night outs, Litter Bit Better events, and inspired me to run for public office. I served as a Rochester City Council member with unwavering integrity, resilience, and allegiance to you, as residents will always come first. I thank the organizers of this debate and the voters who pay attention, and the other candidates here who have the courage to also run. To the residents who are paying attention, you have witnessed me calling out government corruption, violations of Minnesota law, the misuse of taxpayer dollars, and you have seen the avoidance and accountability for the abuse of power when city leaders covered up their bad behavior with the most harshly restricted sanctions in Minnesota history, with a gag order-like censure that silenced nearly 20,000 of you residents. If you can't control the truth, you control how people see the truth teller. In August of '24, I decided to run for mayor because Rochester needs a truth teller in their corner. To learn about my leadership experience and myself, you can look at my website, votemollydennis.com. To see my values, look at my proven voting record. That's where my allegiance is. And if you want to have a more transparent and honest government, you vote Molly for mayor. Because transparency isn't trust, and integrity deeply matters. Thank you.
Sia, followed by candidate Lucker.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters, the Chamber of Commerce, Post Bulletin, Century High School, the other candidates on the stage with me, and the audience. I am Dr. Jess Garcia, a clinical psychologist by training who is currently working as an administrator for the state of Minnesota at a forensic psychiatric facility. I'm also an appointed member of the Governor's Council on LGBTQIA 2S+ Minnesotans. I'm also a former school board director of Rochester Public Schools. I've also worked in this community as a psychology intern at the federal prison when I moved here in 2016, and then later as a manager, clinician, and assessment psychologist for a nonprofit mental health clinic in town. While I've done quite a bit in the meantime, I want to bring us up to today. There are many great candidates to choose from on this stage, and yet Rochester deserves a mayor who will be ready to lead on day one. I'm the only candidate with experience representing approximately 140,000 people in an at-large capacity. I did so while also overseeing operating budgets worth hundreds of millions of dollars, serving on committees and work groups to further our legislative, policy, and community engagement goals, contributing to the creation and implementation of a robust strategic plan, and cooperating with other governmental bodies and community members to achieve our necessary goals. And I currently advocate in a statewide capacity on the Affinity Council I mentioned earlier. I would absolutely bring all of these skills with me as mayor of Rochester. That said, I look forward to the forum tonight and wish my peers all the best.
Thank you. Candidate Lucker is next, followed by candidate LWV.
Good evening. First and foremost, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for inviting us all here tonight and allowing us to participate in this storied event. I also want to thank my opponents for having the courage to serve. My name is Jared Lucker. I'm an educator, a certified health coach, a personal trainer, and most of all, a husband to my high school sweetheart of 24 years and a proud father of 3 boys thriving in Rochester Public Schools. I'm not a politician. I was raised working class. I grew up in poverty and know firsthand what it means to struggle. But this community gave my family a safe haven and a life I could only dream of. That's why I'm running to be your champion. Under our charter, the mayor is not a top-down executive. The mayor must protect the common good, prioritize public safety, and ensure that it is a healthy community where everyone belongs. Whether young or old, rich or poor, white, black, Hispanic or Somali, whether Muslim, Jewish, Christian or atheist, whether local or immigrant, those receiving medical care, or tourists enjoying our amazing city. Our diversity is our greatest strength. My motivation to run was forged on the front lines of public service, as well as a class hosted by the Chamber of Commerce and former Olmsted County Board Chair Sheila Cascadian, who encouraged people just like me to run for office. My inspiration started at Churchill Elementary, where I served in AmeriCorps to help bridge the gap of literacy, especially after COVID, and to serve without fear or favor my fellow man and country. It was there that a student looked up and said, "Mr. Jared, you should run for mayor." But I didn't wait for an election to stand up for us. I spoke before the city council in the heat of the ice raids, advocated at the county board for any path home for our homeless, and stood before the school board to fight for our community schools. To be honest, if Rochester didn't have a nonpartisan charter, I would have never run. But because we do, I saw a duty to step up. I want to use my strength to unite us, not divide us. Empathy and strength are not mutually exclusive. As your mayor, I will balance compassion with care. I believe we are stronger together. For Rochester, the best is yet to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Elgaby, followed by candidate Ahmed.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters, partners, and everyone joining us here tonight. My name is Dr. Wally Alegbede, and I'm running for mayor because I believe Rochester's greatest strength is its people. And our city deserves leadership that listens, brings people together, and delivers results. Over the past decade, my wife and I have built our lives here. We've raised our family, served the community, and built relationships across neighborhoods, schools, faith communities, and businesses. We love this city. I am an American citizen originally from Nigeria, and my journey has been shaped by hard work and perseverance. Without access to student loans or financial aid, I worked my way through college. Through education and the support of others, I've been blessed to build a career, raise a family, and give back to this community. As a father of a son with disability, I understand why accessibility, inclusion, and belonging matter. For more than 20 years, I've led across healthcare, business, education, and nonprofit organizations. I've led more than $100 million in strategic initiatives, and as an entrepreneur, founded a software company that helped organizations grow, including helping one become one of America's fastest growing private companies. Today, I serve as Director of Strategy Management Services, where I help turn strategy into reality. I hold a doctorate in ethical leadership, an MBA, and I'm a certified project management professional. Leadership is about people, it's about service. As president of the NAACP in Rochester, I've worked to advance justice by building partnerships, expanding opportunities, and bringing people together. When Rochester's residents were impacted by ICE, I stood with families that demanded accountability and worked to protect the rights and dignity of our neighbors. When a young boy with a disability was traumatized by hateful behavior at our parks, I spoke up and demanded accountability. I believe Rochester can be a city where every family can afford to thrive, every business can grow, every resident know they belong. Together we can build that Rochester. My life has been rooted in service, and today I humbly ask for your trust, your support, and your vote so that we can move Rochester forward together.
Thank you. Next is candidate Ahmed, followed by candidate Powers.
Thank you and good evening, everybody. First, thank you for showing up and taking up a civic duty, and I think that is the most important thing ever, and this is one of the reasons why I ran. This city has raised me, and I've come up through Rochester Public Schools with a single mom with 4 kids that came here on a Jefferson bus line, and since that time has produced 4 graduates from Rochester Public Schools who've gone on to get their graduate degrees and become doctors, 2 of them out of 4. I think that speaks volumes to this city and the people here and the opportunity that is available. As a husband, a father, I left this city for school and to get education, and I returned because I believed that this was the best place to raise our kids. And my wife, that I've been married to for 13 years, I've known her since 7th grade. So in coming back, what stood out and why I wanted to do our civic duty or service was to start serving our city and make our voices heard. And that started with the Planning and Zoning Commissioner, serving on the RDA downtown board, and then going and speaking with as many people as I can. I've watched neighbors show up at the P&Z and not be heard. And the reason why I ran is, at the end of the day, is that I want every neighborhood to be seen, every resident to be heard, and I want our city and community to be served. How we do that is through engaging in real time in proactive governance, not reactive. And that is why I'm running, and that is why I've built openrochester.org, and that is, I truly believe, how we move Rochester forward.
Thank you, candidate Powers, and will be followed by candidate Haji Omar.
Good evening. Thank you to the League of Women Voters, the Rochester Area Chamber of Commerce, the Post Bulletin, and the Public Library for hosting tonight's forum. I'm running for mayor because I love Rochester. My family has called this community home since the late 1800s. I'm a 4th generation Powers, and the 5th and 6th live here also. Rochester has given so much to my family. I want to help lead our city into the future. Holding office of mayor has been a lifelong dream. As a young boy, I watched my father serve our community through public service, inspiring me to make a difference. Over the years, I have worked with city leaders on affordable housing, nonprofit initiatives, and homelessness. Those experiences taught me the best solutions come when we bring the right people together. One example is the First Homes Initiative, launched in 1999. It brought together the Rochester Area Foundation, the Chamber of Commerce, the City of Rochester, Mayo Clinic, Minnesota Housing Finance, local banks, builders, contractors, and small businesses. Together, we raised more than $7 million and helped build 875 starter homes. The lesson just wasn't about housing, it was about a community can accomplish when working together. Today, Rochester's biggest challenges are affordability and rising property taxes. We need fiscal responsibility, smart budgeting, practical solutions that make it easier for families and seniors to live here. I believe my experience with community engagement, commitment to collaboration will help Rochester meet these challenges. Together, we can build a city that remains affordable, welcoming, and full of opportunity for future generations. I'd be honored to earn your vote. Thank you.
In May of 2015, I was right here, graduating from Century High School. It's great to be home. My name is Ayub Haj Umar, and I'm running to be the next mayor of Rochester. Rochester has been home. My home, Rochester has been my home my entire life. I started preschool here, went through our schools before going off to college, got married here, and started my family here. I love Rochester, and I'm deeply invested in the success of our city. Over the past decade, I've dedicated my career to giving back. I've had the privilege of serving Rochester through public infrastructure, education, the International Relations Committee, and alongside our city government. One of the projects I'm most proud of is Discovery Walk, a pedestrian oasis connecting downtown to the Zumbro River through public art, green spaces, and places for people to gather. My team and I designed, developed, and delivered Discovery Walk to the city of Rochester. That experience taught me that great cities aren't built around buildings alone. They're built around people. I'm running because I believe Rochester's best days are still ahead of us. That means more attainable housing, thriving small businesses, modern infrastructure, and a city that invests in the next generation. As mayor, Rochester will have the best public transportation system of any city our size. Fast, reliable, and fare-free. We'll plant 10,000 new trees over the next 4 years, make it easier for small businesses to start and grow through a one-stop shop at City Hall, and continue building a city that is more connected, more walkable, and prepared for the next 100 years. Our future won't happen by chance. It will be shaped by the choices we make today. I believe Rochester's greatest chapter is still ahead of us, and I would be honored to earn your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Very nice remarks. The first question will come from the League of Women Voters. Candidate Haji Omar will go first in responding, followed by candidate Zastro. The question is, how would you recruit the broadest representation of people to serve on city boards and commissions?
Well, I think it's important to have our city accessible to the public. If people understand that we have openings in certain positions and we're able to advertise that, I feel the best and brightest will step forward and apply for these positions. And so that's what I would do, is I would focus on the highest qualified individuals, people that have passion for public service, and people that seem to have a track record of getting the job done.
Thank you. Candidate Zastro will be followed by candidate Powers.
Thank you. So we have roughly 140 board and commission members across 19 boards and commissions. Currently, about 125 of those seats are filled. Appointing members to our boards and commissions is one of the most important duties of the mayor. I would aim to attract qualified and dedicated members who also make up a representative sample of our community. To do this, I would utilize widespread community connections to help get the word out. For years, we've heard that morale on our boards and commissions continue to see high attrition rates and low morale. It's unfortunate that some of my opponents have actually taken aim at my commission experience online, calling it playing government. I do not see that as the role of a board or a commissioner. I think the mayor can step in and support our boards and commissions, and that will help us recruit and retain qualified individuals in the community.
Candidate Powers is next, and he will be followed by candidate Garcia.
I think it is one of the more important jobs that the mayor would have, is having people that will be a part of these commissions. I think in the past, some of the things that have happened that I think are troubling is the fact that maybe we didn't do as much recruiting within our community and looking for talent. I would be very proactive on looking for people that are very passionate about the particular commissions that we're looking to fill. And I think that is probably the most important asset, that we have people on there that are passionate about it. And I think that would take care of the nutrition problem also. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Garcia will be followed by candidate Ahmed.
Thank you. I would recruit the broadest representation through already established connections I have with a variety of communities in Rochester. Also, calibrating and recalibrating expectations and relationships is also needed. So, for example, there are several communities in the city that have very fractured relationships with our government. If we want people from any of those communities, because they're the best candidate for the job, we're going to need to do a little repair work. Also, some people are just plain intimidated by the opportunity. They don't think that they're qualified, or they worry that they won't have the time, or that they don't want to engage in local politics in that particular way. So I think I would imagine as mayor, I'd be seeking to offer potential candidates support and information at intervals that person would feel are supportive rather than overwhelming. And I would also ask the experts to take their recommendations into consideration.
Thank you. Candidate Ahmed will be followed by candidate Dennis.
On recruiting on boards and commissions. Thank you. I sit on one of these commissions, and to tell you the truth, I think we recruit like it's a favor and treat it like a furniture for the service. And I think that has to change. The mayor's appointment pipeline, planning, the utilities, parks, library, all of these are some of the most important and underutilized powers, especially in the mayor's role. These seats decide real things, what gets built, what your electricity costs, and how much your family can afford. We, as your mayor, I would publish every vacancy and actually look and recruit across different wards very specifically for those who have expertise and community and service within it. To be honest, in appointments, when I look across, there are great many people that I know from this city, and I would be focused on bringing them along. Thank you.
Candidate Dennis will be followed by candidate LWV.
Thank you. So as a city council member, my favorite part of my job was to listen to open comment. There was a lot of research. You saw me, I printed out 1,000 pages of council packets and researched all night and all week. It was an incredible amount of work. But that opening part of council meetings, when you heard people's lived experiences, I was riveted, and I sat there taking notes, and I brought it up in other business, and I brought it up in the council meeting to make sure that their voices were amplified. And that's what boards and commissions do. They amplify the voices of the people in our city and our community. And I feel we need to be really careful in how we do that, because there's a lot of criticism that even the city council doesn't have a say in who is being nominated. Residents don't really have say. It's the power of the mayor, and I don't think the mayor should have all that power, because if all the candidates up here had to sign this Rochester City Municipal Candidate Ethics Disclosure Form, I got a copy here. So this says that, your connections to the city, if you have family, you have friends, and it's really important that people who nominate boards and commissions do not violate ethics by nominating their cronies. Thank you.
So I think, and I know that our greatest resource are our people, and people want to serve in Rochester. I think the question is, why aren't people serving? I've been on some commissions where people feel like their voices are not being heard. They come up with recommendations that doesn't go anywhere. So if we really want people to serve, and yes, we have to reach out to all of our communities to make sure that the people that are serving in Rochester in these boards reflect the community, but we also need to make sure that their voices matter, that when they come up with recommendations, it actually goes somewhere, that city council takes it up and really enact on those. So that's really important. Also, logistically, we need to make sure that people have an opportunity to serve. I mean, for some of these commissions, you know, the time that they're doing it is when you're going to work. And so, yes, you want to serve, but you don't have that ability. And so we need to make sure that we have accessibility for our community members that really want to provide it. So, I'll just leave it there.
Thank you. Candidate Lucker, you will have the last response.
Excuse me. With our weak mayor, strong council system, appointing board members is one of the most important things a mayor can do. We want to recruit from the broadest representation to serve on city boards, welcome any and all applicant, but we also can't overlook those who are already experienced on boards, particularly like RPU, where they have very intensive and very complicated work. I want to make sure that we balance new energy, new ideas, and the experience of people who've been there for years. So I think it's important that they're qualified, they're passionate for the city, they're willing to compromise with others, have the humility to admit when they don't have it right, and reach out across the other boards need to be communicating with each other too, even if it may be a bit abstract. I think the more communication, the better. And we just need that intergovernment communication generally as well.
Thank you. Our second question is coming from the Rochester Area Chamber of Commerce. Candidate Lucker, you get to have the first response on this one, and you will be followed by candidate El-Gabeidi.
Good evening, candidates. Housing availability and affordability affect employers' ability to recruit and retain talent across all income levels. What role should the city play in increasing housing supply while maintaining affordability and supporting continued growth?
Thank you so much. This is a question that I've probably gotten most frequently with meeting with constituents. There's many things the city can do. They're doing some of them. There's a lot of projects in the works, and we have yet to see how those will play out. Some of them are promised to be affordable, and then when it comes down to it, they're not affordable for the average person. We can expand flexible zoning, cut red tape to permit duplexes, townhomes, condos, and accessory dwelling units. The ADUs is something I've heard a lot about. People want to keep their aging parents nearby, and they have a hard time building those ADUs without burdensome, fees and zoning. We need to invest in senior living. I've heard too many stories of seniors going homeless because they can't afford affordable housing, and that's just something that's unconscionable. We need to reclaim some public land and sell it back to everyday people who can build their own homes, the missing middle. And we need to continue to allow people to renovate buildings and give them easier access to fixing things that are available right now that we can get people into, in a matter of months rather than years.
So affordable housing is it's our top issue, when I talk to voters. And when you look at, our median household income in Rochester is roughly $89,000, and you look at the median household, the median cost for a home is like $350,000, or the median starter home is like $236,000. So basically, this shows that the gap between people's paychecks and the homes they can afford is really wide. There are a lot of things that we need to do to really improve affordable housing. I know last year the Olmsted County that conducted a needs assessment, which also showed that to be able to achieve those goals, they need to create about like $18,000 new housing units. So we have a lot of work to do. I think it's going to be important for us to build housing production. That's really key. But it's not just building affordable homes. We need to look at community land trust, because that can actually reduce the cost of homes. We need to look at tiny homes. We also need to look at ways where we can figure out lending to make sure that people can afford homes.
Thank you. The next candidate to respond is candidate Ahmed. I'm sorry I didn't give you a chance to prepare. He will be followed by candidate Powers and then candidate Zastro. I'm sorry, candidate Garcia. Powers and then Garcia.
Thank you. 18,000 homes are needed countywide by 2035. We build about 1,000 a year. Do that math out loud. So essentially we finished a decade roughly 7,000 homes short. Supply is the first demand. More homes on land and infrastructure that we already paid for, production targets and price bands that are published and available and visible to everyone. Process, the permit clock is a cost. Every week of delay lands in the rent. We would speed that up through a template. The mayor sets the agenda, appoints P&Z, and publishes the clock. Protect what's already standing. Okay. Repeat code violators on any non-homestead property get a public log and no city incentive, subsidy, or fee waiver with open violations. Repair the neglect before it expands and ask the public not to fund its fix. Everyone here supports housing. Not one plan on this stage closes a 7,000 home gap. But mine tells you the target, and we move from there.
Thank you. Candidate Powers, you will be followed by candidate Garcia and then candidate Zastro.
I never thought I'd ever hear that probably the largest problem in our community is affordability, but I've heard it more and more at all the talks I've gone to. And in particular, there's two areas. Of course, housing is one of the biggest ones. The formula needs to change. I was part of the First Homes initiative in 1999, and here we go again, except this problem's going to be 10 times bigger. There are many things that you can do that I've identified along the way. For instance, your meter that you get from RPU, it's the same cost no matter what the size of your home is or a cost is. Things like that can change. The other thing is, on even for any home, even $300,000 or less, there's about a 25% fee charge from the city for all the fees. This has got to change too. I mean, if you have to charge the ones that are building $1 million homes, charge them more. But if we're going to build affordable housing, we got to get serious about it. And the other one, which I don't have much time to talk about it, I've talked to a lot of seniors, and they're very in fear of getting property taxed out of their homes.
Thank you, candidate Powers. Candidate Garcia will be followed by candidate Haji Omar.
Thank you. I would support development of affordable housing in all the ways that are allowable by our policies. So what is considered affordable is not actually attainable for a lot of people, and so it's not a single answer. You heard a number of the stats. I'm actually most interested in seeing how the council might use TIF as recommended during a recent Urban 3 debriefing. So there are options for drawing project areas differently that might work better for our needs. Also maximizing utilized space, underutilized space, like excess parking or vacant lots. Diversifying housing options is also necessary because what I would need as an individual and what I would consider affordable is not necessarily the same for everybody at this table or anyone in the audience. So I would be willing to hear any of City Council's recommendations to move forward and support what makes best sense for our city.
Thank you, and I got out of order here. Candidate Zastro, you're next, followed then by candidate Haji Omar, and finally candidate Dennis.
Thank you. So the question was about the city's role in housing, and I see that as planning and zoning, incentives, and enforcement. Now, policy is largely driven by council and enforcement by staff. That said, there's 5 ways I would like to address this. One is the lower town model of redevelopment of city blocks, where when we raise an entire city block of homes, in addition to the main apartment building, we require a separate building with an equal number of for sale owner-occupied housing units to be built on that block as the original single-family homes that were removed, and have them be at a similar price point. Additionally, our aging housing stock is in rough shape. We need to immediately pursue federal funds, including those from the recent housing bill, to bolster our local housing rehabilitation programs. This keeps people in their homes and keeps those homes in good repair. We need to continue to call on our state partners to draft legislation that reins in corporate ownership of single-family homes, and we need to build wisely for the needs of our community, including homes for people to age in place and starter homes. This means smaller homes with reduced lot sizes. And finally, stronger enforcement against predatory landlords and building safety violations.
Thank you. Candidate Haji Omar, you will be followed by candidate Dennis.
All right, so I would leverage my engineering background to build more homes. We would build more starter homes. We would build more workforce housing, so apartments for the employees. We would also expand single-family homes. We should be building about 1,000 homes a year. We haven't reached that target. I would make sure that we get up to there. We would also expand first-time home buyer programs for people that want to buy homes, helping them out with their down payment. We would incentivize building homes that would benefit our community so that developers are incentivized to build more homes that are not only profitable to them, but that are also beneficial to our community. So I mean, these are just some of the things that I would do. I'd also work with the Housing Coalition, a group of organizations including the DMC, on ways that we can build more affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you. And candidate Dennis, please proceed.
Thank you. A lot of wonderful ideas. I wrote down a lot of legislative things that are happening in St. Paul. We've talked about already, candidates about building, preserving more homes, promoting housing stability, housing solutions. All of those are phenomenal. We need, because it's a complex issue. I think the underlying cause of it, though, we have an unprecedented level of economic inequality here in Rochester. According in March, it was 44.3% of families make over $100,000 a year. And then a whole bunch, it's over 50% if you look at making $75,000 a year. And then you have so many people making incredible wages here in Rochester. And then people like me, who I was a special education para at that time, working full-time, making $1,100 a month, full-time. And so you have people who have this huge economic disparity. Every month, nearly every month, I have attended the Rochester Housing Alliance. I have all these papers here to pull it up here, but I have attended to hear the collaboration between the state, the county, city, and areas. So we need to work together and find solutions because this is a unique town and a complex issue. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question, we've had several on the topic of the immigration and customs enforcement in our community from the audience here today. The first response will come from candidate Ahmed, followed by candidate Haji Omar, and then candidate Zastro. What role, if any, do you think the city should play in immigration enforcement?
Repeat the question, please. Thank you.
What role, if any, do you think the city should play in immigration enforcement?
Great question. Public safety is core to our place, and it is within the charter of the mayor to be able to establish that. In terms of what role should RPD play in federal ICE immigration, I think zero. And this is essentially a scope issue. RPD has given an oath and swore the officers here that live and work in this community to protect and serve Rochester residents. That is their duty and their scope. And I believe that anything that goes beyond that has to have some way that benefits the community. It is not to support Minnesota agencies or federal government and do their duty for them, but to actually protect and serve the citizens of Rochester. And to that final point, we don't allow dentists to prescribe antidepressants. We don't allow podiatrists to do heart surgery. And it's the same scope thing, but if both of them saw that they were violating the rights of a patient, they would have a duty to report that. But that is not their job, and RPD's job is to protect and serve Rochester residents.
Thank you very much. The next is candidate Haji Omar, followed by candidate Zastro, and then candidate Powers.
So the city should play absolutely no role in immigration enforcement. That's not the job of the city of Rochester, and that's not the job of the Rochester Police Department. That's the job of Homeland Security. And if they're not able to do their job well, they should get new leadership. Thank you.
Candidate Zastro, you will be followed by candidate Powers, and then candidate Dennis.
So that is a federal issue. It's not a local issue, so that would be federal enforcement, not local enforcement. We have a professional force that upholds local values and local professional standards. What I saw during Operation Metro Surge would not align with the local professional standards that I would expect of RPD. I was frustrated, I was angry, and I do not think that the city of Rochester should have our police department serving the federal government's enforcement needs.
Candidate Powers, followed by candidate Dennis, and then candidate LWV.
I also believe that RPD should not be involved in these ICE operations. And the reason I say that is because of the fact that RPD has done a great job on connecting with its citizens within Rochester. At the end of the day, ICE leaves, and when they leave, RPD is still here. So I think, obviously it was a federal issue. It was mandated by the federal government, and that's the way the law is set up. In saying that, being I'm in the restaurant business, I can tell you a lot of horror stories about it. It was an awful time, a very awful time to go through. And we had to make a lot of connections with our employees and do a lot of things that we've never done before, and then had to work on getting the fear out of our employees after it was all done.
Thank you. Candidate Dennis will be followed by candidate LWV and then candidate Lucker.
Thank you. I've spent a lot of time with the Rochester Police Department. I've shadowed them, rode around their patrols for over 5 hours one time. I went to the police academy that they had the several weeks, learning all about the functions of Rochester Police Department. It's very important that the mayor knows in and out every department, every unit, everything that the police department does. I don't think we should pass the buck, so I don't think that Rochester Police Department shouldn't be around where the Homeland Security is, because they need to be helping document what's happening. They have a security camera, they have all these all the new cameras around town to help to hold people accountable, hold the federal government accountable, hold Homeland Security accountable. So I believe that we should not have our police department helping out or doing any kind of interrogation, but they should be there to protect the citizens of Rochester, be there with their social workers to help victims and be involved. Because we can't be just saying let's stay away. We need to make sure that people things are documented. Transparency is trust. So we need to make sure that the police department has training to be involved as documenters of the situation and not be involved at all with helping Homeland Security. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Lucker and then candidate Garcia.
Thank you. When I was working with K through 2 students, one of the worst things I ever saw was them not coming to school, them in fear, hearing slurs, things that people were saying during the height of the siege. But RPD's stated policy is to not enforce, not help enforce ICE enforcement. And if there's ever a breach of that, we need more training and accountability. But I do trust Chief Franklin. I think he's doing a great job. On the other hand, as far as the council and the mayor were concerned, I felt that I was appreciative of their statements supporting the local population, but they could have been more forceful and they could have happened a lot sooner. Just in general, as Americans, any violation of the Constitution and our rights cannot be acceptable. So we need to make sure that we forcefully support those who are here, and we make sure we keep that separation very clear, that the federal government and the city government are 2 separate entities, and we can't mix those.
Thank you. Candidate Garcia.
Thank you. This question is quite personal for me. I grew up in Maricopa County where they were doing raids in the 90s and early 2000s. So when it started here, I did not hesitate to protect my neighbors. I engaged in rapid response work, and I went up to Whipple and made sure that the people that they were releasing in the dead of winter without any of their things were able to get home. Immigration enforcement is a federal responsibility. They have their own resources. We do not need to be spending our taxpayer dollars to help them do their job. And while it's nice that the city reaffirmed our stance as a compassionate city, I just want to be clear that that does not mean that we are inclusive or supportive of our immigrants. I've heard recently from one immigrant leader in our community that if we were serious about supporting and protecting our neighbors, Our police department would have taken a page out of other police department books and arrested some of these federal ICE agents because they were in violation of city ordinances and breaking, at a minimum, numerous traffic laws. During the early months of this year, I cannot tell you how often I saw with my own eyes how many people's safety ICE put at risk, and it was not the criminals they were allegedly looking for.
Thank you. Candidate Eligabede, did I skip you? I apologize.
Yeah, the city should not be playing any role whatsoever in immigration enforcement, and the city includes the police force. This is personal to our community. What ICE did was introduce fear in our families. And when you think about that, the police role is to protect and serve. They failed to do that. Yes, the city came up with statements in terms of we care about you, but similar to Minneapolis and St. Paul, we didn't really see a similar response in Rochester. In my role as the president of the NAACP, I called for the impeachment of the president, because what occurred in Rochester and across the nation were human rights violations. It's not about politics, these were human rights violations, and that's why we did that. And so if we want our people to feel belonging, we need to really show them and we need to support them.
Thank you. Are there any rebuttals? I should be asking that after every question. Okay, our next question comes from an online audience. Actually, several questions have come in on this topic, and it relates to the qualifications of mayor and potential conflicts of interest. If elected, how much time would you devote to the job? Would you maintain other work or business responsibilities, and would anything in your work or business life cause a conflict of interest in your role as mayor? The first response will come from candidate Garcia, followed by candidate Ahmed, and then candidate Lucker. And I'll repeat the question if you need.
Thank you. I appreciate this question. So I currently work for the state. I would be resigning my position with the state. My bosses are already aware of this. So I would be your full-time mayor. I don't think that any mayor should be treating the mayorship as their side gig. So your mayor should be working for you full-time, no matter where they are. And that is exactly what I intend to do.
Candidate Ahmed will be followed by candidate Lucker, and then candidate Zastro.
In terms of running full-time, we have a growing Rochester city. This is a full-time commitment position, and any mayor who's going into it has to be fully dedicated to serving Rochester residents and amplifying their voice. Council members represent wards. The mayor represents the entire city, and that takes dedication and showing up in person, speaking and engaging and amplifying every single resident's voice in any way possible, whether through real-time input and also town halls, press conferences, and being present and face forward. It is a full-time commitment, and as even Norton has highlighted, it extends into weekends and evenings.
Thank you. Candidate Lucker, you will be followed by candidate Zastro, and then candidate Haji Omar.
I agree with my colleagues here that the mayorship is a full-time job, especially with a growing city. But that being said, I want a moratorium on pay increases. I don't think the mayor needs a pay increase. I think they have a job to do that's difficult, but I think they're compensated fairly. If there is business interest, they ought to divest those and make a clear line, because this is about public trust and transparency. So any qualifications I have as a trainer, health coach, and education, that will be put to the side to be a mayor full-time.
Thank you. Candidate Zastro, you will be followed by candidate Haji Omar, and then candidate Powers.
Thank you. Yes, I would be your full-time mayor, all in, full-time and then some. I would be willing to close my business. I've already talked with my wife that we would do that. It would be All I'm doing is being the mayor. I would also reduce mayoral travel from the current 22% of working days to make sure that I am in the city, in the community, listening to you. I believe that even our boards and commissions could be full-time positions if we cared enough as a community to have them be so. So absolutely, the mayor should be full-time, and then some.
Thank you. Candidate Haji Omar, followed by candidate Powers, and candidate Dennis.
So I feel that the mayor's position is more than a full-time job, as my fellow candidate mentioned here, and I don't feel that there would be any room to take up another job full-time. And so I would focus fully on serving the residents of Rochester. There are occasions where I do some humanitarian work overseas in the face of devastating droughts. I help build water wells overseas in countries that are struggling, and so that doesn't take too much time, and so I'd probably continue that partially. But other than that, I would focus fully on serving the residents of Rochester and focusing all my efforts on how we can make our city a better place for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Powers will be followed by candidate Dennis, and then candidate Eligabede.
For me, I stepped down in our company about 4 years ago, and I have 3 kids that are running the company now. We have a great leadership team. But from my standpoint, I'm used to working 60, 70 hours a week. I've been doing it my whole life since I was 18 years old. So I'm not worried about the challenges of the mayor's position. I've watched about the last 6 mayors in their capacity and what they've done. I've been watching them since I was a child. And so I've learned a lot from what the commitment is, and it is a commitment, and I would be committed to the position.
Thank you. Candidate Dennis, and followed by candidate Eligabede.
Thank you. Candidate Lucker mentioned that the charter by law is a nonpartisan. This is a nonpartisan position. So note that when you look at the candidates, if they have contributions from political parties, anything that has to do anything with a political party, that should disqualify them because it is a nonpartisan position. It's the 3rd largest city in Minnesota, and it's definitely a full-time, beyond full-time. It's 24/7 because you have to have an integrity all the time as mayor. You can't be on your social media page posting something inappropriate. You are always the mayor. I also believe that you have to look at conflict of interest that is very important beyond job-wise, but look at friends and family, because there are situations where I know I'm running for an office. I'm not running against anybody, but I just have to say that we have to look at each candidate's potential conflict of interest. If they have their names on napkins at the Mayo Civic Center, if they have secret meetings on Saturdays, if they have any kind of issue that might make it so that they have some cronyism, some conflict of interest, that needs to be called out, needs to be out in the open so that all residents know exactly where every dollar from their campaign came from and where every dollar is going. Thank you.
Candidate Eligabede.
Yeah, so across the country, there have been different types of mayoral systems. There are been successful part-time mayors as well as successful full-time mayors. But it is something that requires a lot of dedication and accountability. You look at Minneapolis, for example, a bigger city, 3.5 times more than Rochester. So do I believe the mayoral position needs to be full-time? I'm not sure. But what I do know is this: it needs to be a role that is dedicated, that people are able to be accountable to the people. I would be resigning my position as the president of the NAACP, and that will give me the ability to focus more on this role. So just wanted to share that. But it is something that takes weekends. It is something that takes evenings, and I'm definitely committed to doing that.
What actions should the city take to improve Rochester's competitiveness for attracting new businesses while also supporting the expansion of existing businesses? And I'm happy to repeat the question.
So Rochester, we have an amazing opportunity. When you think about DMC, there's a lot of billion-dollar investments that are occurring, but we need to make sure it actually reaches everybody. The city, they have a role to play, and one of my visions is how do we come up with a welcoming and economic development plan to make sure that our city is welcoming, but then also making sure that there are economic opportunities. You know, there are programs such as workforce development, there are investment in mentorship, there are investment in accelerators, business accelerators, and also just making sure that you know, we're investing in startup, life sciences, and so some of the things the city could do is identifying grants, you know, collaborating with organizations, local employers. So really, I would start by having a solid economic development plan, invite a whole bunch of partners within Rochester and beyond to invest in us, and that could be a way that we sort of spur more economic growth, but we also need to make sure that it reaches people.
Thank you very much. So next is candidate Lucker, followed by candidate Powers, and then candidate Ahmed.
The business community is hugely important to the future of our city. One of the things that we really need to invest in is our youth. School to work pipelines, and that includes entrepreneurship. So in addition to you know, the future, we need to support our local small businesses right now, in particular those who've been struggling with the road construction. So there's some things we can do in terms of, you know, providing resources for businesses that are struggling, as well as lowering red tape for starting a new business. You know, whether that's fees, whether that's zoning. So we just need to make it clear to the city, the current businesses, and outside of Rochester that we're a welcoming, business-friendly environment. We also, you know, need more parking downtown for businesses that are already in existence. So there's a lot of things we can do, and I think we're on the right track, but we need to keep pushing the pedal forward.
Thank you. Candidate Powers, then candidate Ahmed, and candidate Dennis.
Well, first off, we're very blessed to live in a community that continues to grow and expands, and we don't have a large unemployment rate. In fact, we have one of the smallest rates in the whole country. So it's a blessing in regards to that. I will tell you that I think many companies will come from the expansion of mail, but in particular, I think the most important part of any community is small business. It's the heart of communities, and I do think we need to take a serious look at mitigation plans for when we're going to do construction like we've been doing and closing roads down the way we have. There has not been any plan put in place. Putting a sign up telling somebody to go, you know, 3 blocks this way, 4 blocks this way, doesn't take care of the business. There's got to be plans in place that what's going to happen in front of some of these businesses. Some of these businesses, you cannot even get to their door. We've got to look at these problems in the future, and we need every small business we can get in this community.
Thank you. Candidate Ahmed, you're next, then candidate Dennis, and then candidate Haji Omar.
Thank you. By show of hands, how many of you actually own a business in here? Work for a small business? It's terrific. I want to thank the Chamber for asking this question, because when local businesses succeed, Rochester succeeds. And an economy this strong shouldn't be as fragile or centered on just a single institution. To start, most cities would trade places with us in a heartbeat. We're at near full employment and anchoring a world-class institution here. The resilience that we have, or that would help build small business and tradespeople, service workers who make the city run and rise, is the key. So economic development for me means growing the base, small businesses that survive construction, startups that stay, and the basics that decide where talent lives. So housing, childcare, and a government that answers. Companies follow people. People follow answers and being valued.
Thank you. Candidate Dennis, you're next, followed by candidate Haji Omar, and then candidate Garcia.
Thank you. So as a city council member, I have talked to hundreds of local business, hundreds of residents and people in local business downtown. Back in 2007, my favorite store was Tangerine. That was downtown. I don't know if any of you remember Tangerine. And when that business was starting to go out of business, I went and asked the owner what was the struggles. And there were so many hidden barriers, like trees planted, the new over their sign. People can't read their sign. There's so many different barriers, and we need mayors who go there and talk to business owners and understand their struggles. I was the only council member in a closed-door session in 2021 when we had Dooley's prime real estate downtown that was, I just have, Joe Powers came in and said he wanted to buy that without any competitive bidding. The city handed it over. If you listen to the recording, he was a nice guy. We don't need to do competitive bidding. Let's undermine, they didn't say undermine, but do the sell as cheap as we can, Dooley's. That Dooley's property could have been used for amazing things. Instead, it was for a business that competed against the Chateau Theater.
Thank you very much, candidate Dennis. The next is candidate Haji Omar, candidate Garcia, and candidate Zastro.
So as I mentioned in my opening remarks, I would open a small business office in City Hall. That would be a one-stop shop for businesses. This would allow businesses to grow, give them access to resources. Again, as some of the candidates mentioned, having a business downtown and then having the road and some of the sidewalks closed off due to construction, but then continuing to ask them to pay rent, I don't really think it's fair. So having that small business office open in City Hall, I think would be very beneficial and would help them out a lot. It would help them gain access to resources, expand current businesses, and incentivize new businesses to come here. Also, one of the things that I'm working on the International Relations Committee is attracting restaurants from all over the world to come here to Rochester. This would make it better for us because we have more culinary options, but that would also stimulate our restaurants as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Garcia and then candidate Zastro.
Our small businesses are cultural anchors. We should treat them like the treasures that they are. The business climate here isn't great. Even if the majority of businesses in our city are thriving, the perception is not consistent with that. So when you hear about the closing of Mezzanine and Mayoral, Tins having to go on hiatus, Uni struggles, Townies having to be closed for a period of time because of the heat in their kitchen, it is revealing a clear opportunity for us to figure out how to more effectively help businesses, particularly when we are the ones who are disadvantaging them. So I had a listening session recently with some small business owners, and they shared things like wanting to have a Chamber of Commerce Junior, they called it, that's a less expensive and more collaborative approach. They also talked about wanting support to go on like a shared insurance plan, demanding proactive communication with diverse communities from the council and project managers, support navigating regulatory systems, upgrading essential retail infrastructure, clear resources for local property zoning friction, and so much more. They want us to fight for them and stand up for them when things get tough.
Thank you very much, candidate Garcia. Candidate Zastro.
So thank you. What the city can do first and foremost is continue to maintain our AAA bond rating. A strong city is a strong place to invest. From there, we need to address our reputation to small businesses. Right now, it is not good. Downtown is a mess. As far as I know, I'm the only candidate to have released a downtown response plan back in May. I plan to continue to develop that and have a more robust version available on my website soon. We need to attract and retain talent and then get out of the way and let them do what they do. On the neighborhood level, I think of places like the Shoe, Old Abe's, or Socius Design that just are very inspiring. The government can't really make those, but we can incentivize people and bring them and then get out of their way. We need to move away from our concentrated economic model that is susceptible to disruptions in a single industry. We need to think bigger. We've all seen what happened to Detroit, Milwaukee, the Rust Belt. We can't be fooled that a single industry is going to be here forever and is always going to be this strong. And finally, I too would have a small business committee, probably through the mayor's office, to make sure that small business owners have a direct line right to the downtown concerns and right to the mayor's office. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, are there any rebuttals? Yes, candidate Powers, and Dennis will follow.
Okay, I'm going to clear the air on the Dooleys because I'm sick of hearing about it. First off, the city put out an RFP to lease the space. Nobody came. Then they put out an RFP to sell the space. Nobody came. I went in and talked to them. They said, yes, we could do something with you. Do not turn it into a nightclub. I agreed to that. There's also an agreement with the city. They have the ramp above me. If they were to take the ramp down, I lose my building. Now, not too many people are going to take that deal, I can tell you that. I bought it for $1.5 million. We put $2 million into it. If anybody thinks that was a wise investment, I'm not sure. But the fact of the matter is, I put a lot of money into it.
Thank you very much, Candidate Powers.
Thank you.
Candidate Dennis?
Thank you. That was a closed-door session in 2021, and I have the recording because it's now made public. I will put that on my website so you can listen to how that negotiation went down. I was the only council member of all the council members present who thought we should withhold selling it without advertising it to more people, without having competitive bidding, without getting through COVID and realizing what COVID was going to happen to downtown. We can't be selling and getting rid of property that could have been used for daycares or jazz clubs or things because we have someone powerful in our community who has the power to just,
Thank you.
buy out.
Thank you, Candidate Dennis. I would like to remind the candidates that the rules of the forum prohibit personal attacks, so let's keep our comments in general. Audience, thank you very much. Thank you. Let's keep on with the questions. The next question comes from the in-person audience. Candidate Powers will go first, Candidate Garcia, and then Candidate Lucker. And it relates to the role of the mayor. People have said we have a weak mayor system in Rochester. The powers of the mayor have been debated even at the Charter Commission. And it seems one of the most powerful, one of the most significant powers of the mayor is the veto. How would you use the veto power, and how would you exercise your other powers in the role of mayor? Candidate Powers.
First off, I don't think it's a weak position. The mayor is in charge of the police department. I'd say that's a very, very important duty that a mayor would hold. Second is the commissions, which we've all talked about. Very, very important that these commissions are picked and done properly. I look at this. You're the face of the community on top of that. Quite frankly, I think it's a pretty strong mayor system the way it is set up right now. It's worked well, and I think it's done good things for our community.
Thank you. Candidate Lucker, you are next, Candidate Garcia, followed by Candidate Lucker and Candidate Haji Omar.
Yes, a mayor's role in a system like ours is a relational one, and I would lead as a coalition builder, prioritizing people over politics and helping others realize their own power and mutual responsibility to build the city that we want and the city that we need. I would also be clear that just because the mayor has no vote, it doesn't mean she has no voice. I will use my voice in this role, as I always have, in service of the people. Also, because many don't understand our government system structure, ongoing education is needed, and I'm prepared to offer that education often and loudly to help people understand how we function and what the mayor's role is. I also always appreciate the opportunity to celebrate someone else's wins. So singing the praises of the council and administration when something is achieved and is going right and it benefits our community, I would do that. And absorbing negative feedback and helping to take accountability when people want answers, even if I was not part of the vote, is how I would work as a leader. And it is how I would function as your mayor.
Thank you. Candidate Lucker is next, followed by Candidate Haji Omar, and then Candidate Alegbade.
Thank you. Great question. I want to quote Teddy Roosevelt, who said, "Speak softly and carry a big stick." He also invented the idea of the bully pulpit. So the mayor in this type of system must use their voice. Second to overseeing the police department, appointing boards, and other emergency situations, the mayor has a job, a unique role of being an advocate. And that's why we need to keep this position nonpartisan, and we need to fight for that. Because we can't seek endorsements and favors. This is something that it must serve the community need. And the mayor must be a connector, an advocate, a savvy negotiator, rather than a top-down executive. So that's what's so unique. We need to use our voice as a mayor to advocate for small business, to attract talent, and to speak on behalf of the people who don't feel heard. So, thank you very much.
Candidate Haji Omar, followed by candidate Alegbade, and then candidate Dennis.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. It relates to the role of mayor. Rochester is said to have a weak mayor system, with one of the most significant powers being the veto. How would you exercise the powers, the other powers of being a mayor, and how would you work with the city council?
All right, so I don't think that the mayor's position is a weak mayor or a weak position. You know, when it comes to power and authority, the traditional forms of power and authority, perhaps so. But the mayor's position is a highly influential position. For example, also the mayor is able to do things that others are not able to. Due to the open meetings law, we are able to have meetings with a majority of the city council, and able to, through those meetings, we can come to consensus on a lot of policy decisions. And so, you know, city council can't meet a majority, but we can, the mayor can bring them together and collaborate on how we can best serve our community. The mayor also appoints the boards and commissions. RPU, for example, we can bring down the prices of utilities. That's also something that's very strong. Also, being on the board of the DMCC, we can influence what gets built. And so we can build more affordable housing, we can build things for our community, public parks, etc. So in regards to serving our community, the mayor's position is a very strong position. Thank you.
Candidate Alegbade, followed by candidate Dennis and candidate Zastro.
Yeah, I concur with what has been said thus far. The mayor's role is very important. Yes, it's technically considered a weak mayor system, but throughout my professional career in leadership, you get things done with people. You know, leadership is influence, and so the mayor has to play an important role in building relationships, working with different partners, elevating the voices of our community members, and being an ambassador. Yes, the mayor has oversight of the police department. That's extremely important in our community. Also, when you think about things like RPU, you know, community parks, so the mayor plays an important role. You know, my commitment is making sure that community voices are heard and making sure that, you know, we use the city resources to ensure that everybody in our Rochester city is safe, they belong, and they know that we care about them.
Thank you. Candidate Dennis will be followed by candidate Zastro and then candidate Ahmed.
All right, thank you. So a mayor, we covered some of the mayor's roles. Is the best interest of our community is the mayor's role. And the mayor needs to trust facts. And so by me stating a fact, because it's important that transparency is out there before the election, is not having a personal attack. It's stating the facts. And I have proof to back up those facts. The mayor needs to look at the facts, trust the, look at the values of the city. I served on ROCOG, the Rochester Olmsted County of Governments, Rochester Olmsted Youth Commission, the Zumbro Watershed Joint Powers Board, the Outside Agency Oversight Committee, and several others. And I have looked at how we connect the dots, and that's part of my ADHD and my autism, you know, is connecting dots. But as a mayor, you sign everything. You sign all of the papers and contracts. You can see where money is being spent. You can connect the dots. And so I think one of the most important things as a mayor is to connect the dots, to see where wasteful spending is occurring so that we can have a more just, equitable, and transparent government that saves taxpayer dollars. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Zastro and then candidate Ahmed.
So I see this as a good thing with our weak mayor, strong council system in that it does not concentrate too much power into the hands of a single individual. It does present the challenge of requiring strong teamwork and community involvement in the democratic process. So I would prioritize healthy relationships with the council members to avoid ever arriving at a veto. That said, it may happen, and that would, to me, be when something comes that is not against or is not in alignment with the best interests of the community or it goes against existing law. I also see the position of the mayor having the ability to create change through boards and commissions, the police, as we've heard, but mostly through the ability to shine the spotlight where they want in the community. The issues, concerns, and successes of the community that they choose to champion and uplift often receive substantial media coverage, thereby broadening engagement across the community. The mayor's role is to help you shine Rochester, and I'm ready to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Ahmed, your remarks.
Thank you. Rochester Mayor has real tools. Can you hear me? Okay. And it's the loudest public platform that exists in the city. Now, what it doesn't give the mayor is a vote. Nonetheless, though, the job isn't winning every city council fight. It's making sure no major decision reaches a vote without residents seeing what it costs, who pays, and who benefits early enough to matter. Now, a council can override a mayor's protest. It is much harder to override a public record. Therefore, take the sports complex. The veto came in December, the override followed 5-2, and nothing changed. The honest lesson, a veto in December can't recover work that was skipped the months before. I'd have put conditions in early, before contracts were signed, before an operator was picked, and a public ledger that is visible for every change that had occurred. A funded pad for their indoor phase, an honest statement that there isn't one, and then operating costs on the table up front where residents are heard and engaged with early enough in the process.
Thank you. Are there any rebuttals? Candidate Lucker, and then Candidate Garcia.
I just want to briefly say that the veto should be a last resort. It should be a conversation starter, not a final solution.
Candidate Garcia.
Yes, and I also just want to make a comment about the statements of nonpartisanship. So nonpartisan doesn't mean apolitical. What it means is that we are not beholden to a party. So what we do is inherently political. We are the public government, the local government. So even if we were running on a party ticket, if the only people that you are supporting or caring about are the people who vote like you, then you're doing it wrong. So even the people who are throwing shade and hate at me or any of the candidates on social media, I still want those people to be able to afford to live in our city and get the things that they want and need.
Thank you very much. Candidate Zastro.
Thank you. I just want to add that the ability to appoint boards and commissions is really important as well, because if we have our best professionals on our boards and commissioners vetting these decisions before they even arrive at the council, it will make council's job a lot easier, and we'll know the community's voice was included right from the start. So strong boards and commissions, a great relationship with council, and then hopefully we shouldn't be arriving at too many vetoes anyway.
Thank you. Are there any other rebuttals? Candidate Dennis.
Thank you. So I had a gathering in my backyard, People Before Politics, invited all the candidates here, like I did when I was on city council, because it's so important to put people before politics. If you have been funded by any political party, you do have allegiance to that political party. It's the optics of allegiance, and we cannot have that happen, because we need to have nonpartisan elections to allow people to be able to run and become elected officials here in our city. And so I feel that we need to call out not just political parties, but lobbyist groups that are funded by political parties, and not vote for those candidates. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more rebuttals? Okay, we're going on to the next question from the audience, relates to recreation. And candidate Dennis will go first, followed by candidate Alegbade, and then candidate Haji Omar. Access to affordable, accessible indoor recreation is a hot button issue in Rochester. How would you address this issue as mayor?
Thank you. So the Post Bulletin had a question about this, and I answered about the indoor sports complex that was not transparent. It said it was going to be an outdoor and an indoor complex, and that wasn't the case. And the price wasn't right. I believe it was a bait and switch kind of thing, which residents who voted for it and council members who were in support of it didn't have that information. So I do believe that was not right. We do need to have more indoor places. Gets hot, obviously, outside. It's super hot. It gets super cold. I, as a mother of 3 kids, as a Girl Scout leader, as someone who's been involved, a school teacher, all my past, I see that we have to have opportunities for not just kids, but people of all ages, all abilities, to be able to be inside. So with the YMCA closing and challenges that we have, we need to make sure we have those opportunities. So we need to collaborate with other entities, schools, county, find ways where we can open up spaces indoors with heat and air conditioning so that people can have indoor places to participate and build community. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Alegbade, followed by candidate Haji Omar and candidate Lucker.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Access to affordable, accessible indoor recreation is a hot button issue in Rochester. How would you address this issue as a mayor?
Yeah, so I would have vetoed the sports complex. You know, when you think, in the conversations I've had with community members, this has been like a loss of trust. People voted for something, and what they saw was something different. And so I definitely would have done that differently. It's important for us to make sure that as we're doing projects, if there are different initiatives, if there are different challenges, we go back to the voters and we explain that. I think there were missed opportunities in terms of, educating and going back to our community to share, the statuses of the project. So I would have done that very differently. I think the mayor's role and the city council is really to make sure they bring community members together. I've led a lot of projects, in my professional career, and, you want to make sure that the stakeholders, which are our communities, are involved. So I would not hesitate to use a veto if there are initiatives that don't align with the community responses. And I think this is just a missed opportunity. But recreation is an important part of our community, and wellness as well.
Thank you very much. Candidate Haji Omar, followed by candidate Lucker and candidate Zastro.
So we need to find a replacement for our Rochester area Family Y. That was affordable, accessible indoor recreation. It's a little personal for me. That's where I first learned how to swim and even became a swim instructor. I teach kids how to swim on the weekends when I have time. But having affordable, accessible indoor recreation, I think, is very, very important. And being on the board of the DMCC and being mayor, we will be able to, again, influence what gets built and what doesn't. And so I would lead discussions on how we can figure out a way to find a replacement for our beloved, formerly beloved Rochester area Family Y. Thank you.
Thank you. So candidate Lucker, followed by candidate Zastro and candidate Garcia.
I was disappointed that an agreement couldn't be made with RCTC and the Dome. We do eventually need to build an indoor facility at the sports complex. 60 million is too much. But to address the other needs of the community as far as recreation, we need to upgrade 3 Links Park, 7th Street. It's old, it's aging, it's unsafe. We can improve Silver Lake walking path safety. People feel like they have to go up to Broadway and it's dangerous when they're with their kids or on a bike or walking if you have disabilities. We need to continuously invest in hiking and bike paths to make Rochester a premier destination for outdoor tourism as well. And ensure walkability, working with the DMC. They've done a great job so far, and we want to continue to build upon that work so that our downtown is walkable. And we need to diversify recreation. We need to bring a YMCA back. That's something that I really think people want and demand. And growing up in a boxing gym, we had boxing gyms as an outlet for youth. I think that's another thing we need to look into as well.
Thank you very much. Candidate Zastro, followed by candidate Garcia, and then candidate Ahmed.
So if we're thinking in terms of the sports complex, that's been incredibly frustrating for most of us to watch that devolve. We should absolutely not be rushing something through right now. We need to take our time and get it right. Beyond that, though, for indoor recreation, I think this also includes things like an indoor play area downtown for families, community centers throughout the city. And to do these things, we need to listen, plan, and budget. To keep it simple in terms of a community member I know and love, we need to walk and don't run.
Thank you. Candidate Garcia, followed by candidate Ahmed, and then candidate Powers.
Yes, I think the implication about the question is the sports complex. I also would have vetoed the the sports complex and would continue to insist on the indoor option in the final design. I would also bring people together, again, to center the voice of the people. So you asked for something specific, voted for it, and then that's not what happened. Additionally, I think some of my peers up here also mentioned parks. So our park board directs park fund expenditures, and although I would say that the park seems to think that it's more asset management, we could be offering some more community programming. I think that would be helpful, and upgrading parks with also covered options and other things to be able to bring families out into the outside, but also offer other options with some of our community partners for some of the indoor opportunities while we're awaiting this sports complex to resolve itself.
Thank you. Candidate Ahmed, and then candidate Powers.
As Haji Omar mentioned and others, we need YMCA. We need a different indoor accessible facility. I grew up playing basketball there, and that allowed me to continue to play varsity ball here and get connected and explore other opportunities. Generally, Rochester does lack fields, courts, winter spaces. The need is real, but what we're missing isn't ambition, it's memory. We've run the experiment of a dome before in 2009 when the city backed it, and now that is lying on the ground. But we're still allocating and thinking that we should spend another $120 million without taking a pause and getting our residents involved, thinking about senior citizens and their walkability, visitors coming over and needing to access indoor spaces. Our kids and my kids having a place to go and feel connected to, and that it is affordable and doesn't cost $200 a month. I think that Rochester truly needs, and we can't get there until we have civic engagement at resident level, and that's also why I built out Open Rochester, so we could do that.
Thank you. And candidate Powers, your remarks.
So indoor facilities, I think we've really lacked that in our community. To give you an idea, one of the largest indoor facilities we built was 45 years ago. A lot's happened in this community in 45 years. In fact, it doubled in size. So, and that was the rec center. The way I feel about it is we're like way behind. For a community our size, we're the third biggest city in the state, and I got news for you. On the sports side and the affordability side, we don't act like it. So there's much work to be done in this area. Let's not forget, too, that sports change. I mean, who would ever thought pickleball was going to be where it is today? So you have to be ready to pivot. The other thing is you got to do public and private partnerships. That's the way most of them are getting done. Last but not least, the city helped fund the Gage East, Andre Crockett's gym, as I call it. But the unfortunate thing about it is it got funded in the beginning and then left. And if you want to go see that facility, that's the most underprivileged kids in our community that are using that at no fee. And we need to take care of that facility.
Thank you very much. Are there any rebuttals? No, you can, okay, there is a rebuttal then by candidate Haji Omar.
So for the sports complex, let's just take a look at that for a second. The sports complex, we were told, would be a price of $65 million. Then it went up 200%. Usually that's not how things work in construction. There's usually a 20% contingency, not 200%. So as mayor, I would make sure that we have a 20% contingency and we're not going up in numbers that are astronomical with no legitimate excuses. Thank you.
And candidate Alegbade, you have a rebuttal.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of different projects, and yes, you can have projects where the costs go up, but the vision was very different. You know, people were looking for something that was indoor, and what was being delivered was really different. So again, we have to go back to our voters because we serve the people. We need to engage them in that process and engage them in what the future should be. So I would have done it very differently, and I think for us to build trust, we need to go back to our voters, our people, and engage them in that process.
Thank you very much. Are there any other rebuttals? This concludes the question. I'm sorry. Candidate Ahmed, you have a rebuttal? Okay.
Hello. Yes, I just had one rebuttal to add into because of sports complex, accountability, trust, and everything that was essentially raised. Transparency tells you what happened. Accountability lets you follow the decision while it can still be influenced. It's a public record of what the city spends, how the council votes, and what residents raised. And when you have an owner and a status and can see in real time what that looks like, that's the difference maker and the type of mayor I want to be, and push for complete transparency on projects like the sports complex.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other rebuttals regarding this question? Candidate Zastro.
Thank you. I just want to come in with a point of clarification. It was mentioned that we greatly miss the why, and we do. However, that would not be the city's function to bring in the why. And so I would love to see another private organization come in and fill that role, but it wouldn't really be the role of the mayor to bring the why here other than asking. We can't just build a why. Thank you.
Thank you. And Candidate Dennis.
Thank you. I want to just I did bring up the why at the beginning, so I wanted to just chime in on that. We do have to, as a mayor, see where the needs are and think outside the box and have critical thinking. I have my daughter who just turned 18 here, and I said, don't vote for me until August because I want you to hear all the other candidates, because she wanted to vote for her mom, But I said, no, listen, and just because you're friends with someone doesn't mean you should vote for them. You should listen to the candidates who can bring up the city, who has the positivity, who has, if you look at overall how the city has, and who can think outside the box so we can solve problems like this sports complex. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This concludes the question portion of our forum, and we'll now go on to closing statements. Candidates, you each have 2 minutes to provide your closing statements. The order, we will start with Candidate Dennis, then Candidate Haji Omar, and then Candidate Zastro. I want to emphasize and remind the candidates that our rules prohibit personal attacks during closing statements. You should be selling yourself to the audience. Candidate Dennis, will you proceed?
That's great, because I have facts here. So residents are living paycheck to paycheck as Rochester's economic divide widens. As a resourceful, thrifty environmentalist, look at my voting record, I have refurbished my city council signs because I want to save money for donors and for in the environment. As your next mayor, I will also provide fiscal transparency. We'll provide the receipts. We'll provide the travel reports, the audits, the financial records that can be easily accessible by all residents, so you can have the data. City leaders have private meetings behind closed doors, agendas, cronyism, and self-interest in the city. So we need not to have the city leaders not overshadow the residents' needs. As your mayor, I am not part of this establishment. I am a truth teller who vows to help change this rigged system from within. As a full-time public servant, I have listened to hundreds of residents. I will continue to advocate for your lived experience to be heard. As a community and disability advocate, and a school teacher, and a Girl Scout leader, and a hospice volunteer, I have proven that I care about people more than a big paycheck. As a parent raising 3 kids, here I have invested interest so Rochester is a just, inclusive, and honest city for all children to be able to afford to have fun and to live. Unlike the other candidates, I don't have the campaign promises. I have the proven results. What I promised to do, I have done. And so I am promising that I will continue to have unwavering allegiance to sustainability, affordability, accessibility, public safety. I will continue to prioritize residents before big money and partisan politics. Let me prove that your vote for me will make your life better. Vote for integrity, vote for transparency, vote Molly for mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Haji Omar, followed by candidate Zastro, and then candidate Garcia.
I simply want to say thank you. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting tonight's forum, and for my fellow candidates for their willingness to serve, and most importantly, to every resident who took the time to be here and participate in our democracy. Running for mayor has reminded me why I love this city. Rochester is a community that cares. We care about our neighbors, our schools, our parks, our businesses, our public safety, and the future we're building for our children. This election isn't just about choosing the next mayor. It's about choosing the direction of our city. We have an incredible opportunity to build a Rochester that is more affordable, more connected, and prepared for the next generation. I believe we can do that together. I've spent my life in Rochester. This community has shaped who I am and invested in me and has given me the opportunities I will never take for granted. Serving this city has been one of the greatest privileges of my life, and I would be honored to continue that service as your mayor. If you would like a leadership that will listen, bring people together, think long-term, and work every day to build a stronger Rochester, I respectfully ask for your support. On primary day, August 11th, I would be honored to earn your vote. Our future won't be decided for us. It will be built by us. I hope to earn your trust, your support, and your vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Candidate Zastro will be followed by candidate Garcia and then candidate Ahmed.
Thank you. I'll finish with a bit of a sobering reflection. Yesterday, I met with a woman living in a mobile home park on the southwest side, feeling concerned and afraid that development next to her home will push her out of her community. I also met with a man in Southeast whose street is undergoing water and sewer upgrades to accommodate a transit-oriented corridor, resulting in assessments of $8,000 to $15,000 per household on a street of modest homes. Many of these homeowners may be unable to pay their bills and become displaced. After returning home to Lower Town, I barely had time to ponder these things before a young woman who was homeless came up to my yard and asked if I could please help her get back to her father. She had nowhere to go, no phone, and nothing but a jug of water. As a father myself, I was brokenhearted. At Safe City Nights the day before, I caught up with a sergeant who knew my neighborhood well. He informed me that a neighbor who was a father and an owner of a small apartment building nearby had finally succumbed to his addiction and passed away, leaving his children behind. Rochester, in closing, I ask, what are we doing right now? I want us to grow, but our unchecked growth is causing displacement. Our neighborhoods are being razed, our small businesses are closing, and I'm tired of watching your sons and daughters walk our streets, looking for home, looking for love, and sometimes losing their lives in the process, while those at the top continue to tell us everything will be okay, just like the old days. I see you, Corinna, Mookie, young Jose. I wish I could fix it all. I'm fighting to fix it all. But Rochester, we all need to wake up. We need to take care of ourselves, love our families, and help our neighbors. Democracy is a partnership, and we need all of us to make this work. If you can do your part, I promise I will work for you every day, as I have been, but this time at City Hall. Rochester, join me not only in this primary, but as we move forward toward a future that includes all of us. Thank you for being here tonight. Take care.
Thank you. Candidate Garcia will be followed by candidate Ahmed and candidate Alegbade.
So we did not get to talk about how we would connect with our community, so I just want to share a few things. Our campaign has been committed to multimodal, multilingual engagement strategies right out of the gate. And I'd love to talk to the city's communication department about how we could do that while serving in office. For instance, we have an event coming up in which volunteers will be offering safe rides, childcare, interpretation services, so that we're reducing as many barriers as possible for people who want to participate in the event. Wouldn't it be wonderful if our city took working class families and their needs into account like that when planning meetings and events? Especially for those who also need a language access and other accessibility accommodations, because when the meeting is accessible, everyone can participate if they want to. Thank you again to everyone in this room and those who will eventually see this online. To the League of Women Voters for coordinating this event and all those who helped make it a success, thank you so much. It was a pleasure being here with you tonight. I am proud to report that our campaign has door-knocked in all 6 wards thus far. But if we haven't come to your door yet and you'd like to know more, please meet me outside just after this, after we wrap up. And please check out our website at drjessgarcia.com. You will be able to find donation and social media information there as well. And if you were moved by what you saw this evening, I humbly ask you vote Jess Garcia for mayor in the primary between now and August 11th. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Candidate Ahmed, you're next, followed by candidate Alegbade, and then candidate Powers.
Thank you. You know, over the course of this campaign, I've had the opportunity to meet people from every corner of Rochester. I've sat in living rooms and coffee shops. I've talked with small business owners, parents, students, retirees, and workers finishing a long shift. And whether we're talking about housing, public safety, or our local economy, I keep hearing the same things. People want a city government that listens. People want a city government that is open and transparent. People want a city government that works with them, not just for them. Because this city belongs to all of us. Rochester is a remarkable place and it is growing, but growth by itself, it's not enough. Growth doesn't matter if a young family can't afford to buy a home here and stay here and work close to their site. Growth doesn't matter if a small business can't navigate City Hall, and growth doesn't matter if residents feel decisions are being made without them or at them. Government works best when it trusts its people enough to be open with them. That's why I'm running for mayor. That's why I started and built Open Rochester before I even considered, because I wanted to prove the point. Because I had to, and no one asked me to do it. And it was a way for me to get residents heard and seen. Because government should be easier to understand and easier to participate in. Transparency shouldn't be a campaign promise, and it should just be the standard. I believe accountability shouldn't just happen at election time, and it should happen every day. And I believe that every resident, regardless of their neighborhood, their background, or how long they've lived here, deserves to feel heard, their neighborhood seen, and their community served. Because the future of Rochester won't be built by one mayor. It won't be built by one city council. It'll be built by all of us and having our voices heard. And those are the neighbors who care to show up, and I look forward to serving you.
Thank you. Candidate Alegbade, followed by candidate Powers and candidate Lucker.
Yeah, so I just first of all want to thank all of my fellow candidates for their willingness to serve. It's not easy putting your name out and talking to people, and so just thank you for your service. I also want to thank the League of Women Voters, the Chamber of Commerce, Post Bulletin, and partners for making today possible. So, community, friends, neighbors, tonight you've heard a lot of different ideas and different perspectives. Perhaps we may not agree on everything, but I believe that we deeply care about Rochester, and in each of our own ways, we're trying to do what's best for our community. The question before you isn't simply who has the best ideas. It's who can bring people together to turn those ideas into reality. It is who will fight for all of our community members. I'm running for mayor because I believe Rochester's future should work for everyone, not just some. Families deserve affordable housing. Small businesses deserve opportunities to grow. Our young people deserve pathways to success. People deserve communities that are safe as well as just. Our seniors deserve to live in dignity. And every resident deserves to feel valued, heard, respected, and they know they belong. I've spent my career bringing people together to solve complex problems, build partnerships, and deliver meaningful results. I've learned that the best solutions don't just come from one person, they come from all of us, from listening, building trust, and working alongside people with different experiences and perspectives. That's how I've led in healthcare, in the community, in business, and it's how I'll lead as mayor. I'm also very optimistic about Rochester because I've seen what we're capable of doing when we work together. I've seen neighbors help neighbors, business invest in our community, nonprofits lift people up, and residents come together during our most challenging times. That's the Rochester that I know, and that's the Rochester I want to continue building with you all. If you're looking for a mayor who will listen before making decisions, bring people together, and work every day to earn your trust, I would be honored to have that support. My life is rooted in service, and I humbly ask for your vote so that we can move our community forward together. Please go to wallyforrochester.com, engage with us, join our movement in making our community better.
Thank you. Candidate Powers, followed by Candidate Lucker.
Thank you again to the League of Women Voters, Rochester Chamber of Commerce, Post Bulletin, and the Rochester Library for tonight's debate. I also want to thank my fellow candidates. While we may have different ideas on some issues, I appreciate each of you for your willingness to serve our community. I've enjoyed hearing your perspectives tonight. I believe I'm prepared to serve as your next mayor. For more than 40 years, I have served in leadership roles that have required bringing people together, solving problems, and delivering results. I care deeply about this community, and I believe leadership is not about talking about problems, it's about finding solutions. One of the mayor's most important responsibilities is ensuring public safety. A safe community is the foundation for strong neighborhoods, thriving business, and continued growth. As mayor, I will support the Rochester Police Department by making sure they have the staffing, training, technology, and resources they need to keep our community safe. At the same time, I believe accountability and transparency build public trust. And I will work to ensure our police department continues to provide professional, community-focused policing that our residents expect and deserve. I want to give back by helping lead our city with integrity, common sense, and a commitment to bring people together. If elected, I will listen first, work every day to make Rochester an even better place to live, work, and raise families. Thank you for being here tonight, for taking the time to learn about the candidates, and I'd be honored to earn your vote.
Thank you. And Candidate Lucker.
First of all, I think we all owe you guys a round of applause, and we'll give that to you when we're done. But before you head to the polls and make the important decision of electing your next mayor, I want you to reflect on what makes this city so great. It's people, not the metrics, not the figures. And so often we focus on what divides us rather than what unites us. We need to reject the false binary presented by national rhetoric. When we work together in a civil, polite, and nonpartisan way, we can overcome any challenge together. As mayor, I will work tirelessly for you, no matter who you are or your station. Thank you for your commitment to your city, to civic duty, and to each other. Now, my wife and partner of 24 years, we teach my children 5 principles: humility, wisdom, discipline, gratitude, and perseverance. And those are the values that I will take with me every day if I were privileged enough to be your mayor. If you have any questions for me, concerns, you feel that haven't been addressed tonight, please feel free to visit jaredluckerformayor.com. And I humbly ask you to please vote Jared Lucker for mayor. God bless and Godspeed.
Thank you very much. Candidates, for participating in tonight's forum. Thank you for your service to the community and for your willingness to participate in the democratic process by running for office. For the audience, I'd like to thank you for being here, for participating through your thoughtful questions. I would like to remind everybody that the views expressed from tonight's forum are those of the candidates, not those of the League of Women Voters Rochester or any of the partners or sponsors of this forum. I want to thank our partners, the Rochester Post Bulletin, the Rochester Area Chamber of Commerce, and the Rochester Public Library for their help and participation in this forum. We have a full brochure for you to pick up on your way out if you didn't bring one in. Remember that Election Day for the primary is August 11th. Early voting has already started on June 26th. If you vote by absentee ballot and would like to change your ballot after hearing comments tonight, visit mnvotes.org for more information on the process. Above all, please go vote. If you have a question about your polling place or would like to see your sample ballot or learn more information about the candidates, visit vote411.org. Rochester Public Library and the League of Women Voters Rochester post complete unedited recordings of this forum, and editing is authorized only for official media reporting. Excerpts or edited clips of this forum may not be posted on candidate websites or social media or used for political purposes. However, the links to the League of Women Voters Rochester and Rochester Public Library websites are welcome. Thank you for your participation tonight. Good night, everybody.